Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, the information on today's program was gathered from many different places and many different people. If you hear yourself in our conversation today, please remember, it is not all about you. You know, again, I think it kind of disturbs me a little bit when I have to take and read that every single day when I go on air. That I would have to take and worry about really offending someone when I'm just a storyteller here passing on information. Now, today's topic, though, is going to be a lot of fun because I believe that people all around the world have noticed some of these same things. Today's topic is the things they didn't teach you in school. Now, I think this is kind of interesting because I've been speaking about these things for, well, a number of years. And I've done my best to bring them about to the teachings and instruction to people that I meet, especially those my age and younger. Now, the first one is how to develop a strong mindset. Now, that's really something that we look at and have to get in depth with. The strong mindset really is all about who we are and what we are and all those kind of things. But in order to develop a strong mindset, well, first of all, we need to build our confidence. Now, I'm going to encourage you to build our confidence through small wins of perseverance. You see, life is going to slap you, and this life is going to get you, and things are going to happen. It's called life. If you make a lot of plans, I guarantee you not all of them are going to work out the way that you thought they would. But here's the deal. It's how you handle those little misfortunes or the little setbacks that really make the difference. You see, if you put in your vocabulary the I can, and I will, I did, then your confidence will always grow. And little things that happen will just be merely, well, lessons learned. You need to develop courage in yourself. You see, we build our courage through seeing life's obstacles as adventures rather than challenges or hardships and threats. You see, if you wake up every morning like I do and think to yourself, wow, what's my great adventure for the day going to be? I have to tell you, that makes an exciting day. And then you can go out and make it happen because you have the confidence to do so. Now, the next part about a strong mindset, though, is commitment. And this is where I think a lot of people struggle. You see, commitment is where we must first be committed to ourselves, our values, and our dreams. Then and only then can we be committed to others, organizations, or life itself. The thing about this is being committed to your values. Boy, that's sometimes a hard thing if you've never had that opportunity to figure out what they are for yourself. If you weren't raised in a family that had some values, or you were raised around people that did have values and were able to make some decisions on how you were going to live your life, then you need to. You see, I grew up on a dead-end street, and I had to make a decision. Did I want to stay on the dead-end street, or did I want to move? I had to make a commitment to myself first before I could do anything else. The next part about this developing a strong mindset is control. Now, this one is a little bit harder because we must first control our mind through disciplined input of knowledge. This control of self will enable us to draw on it from our inside out. What this really is saying to you is you have to control your mind as well as your body and your mouth. You see, when we learn to control what we put into ourselves, then what comes out is the same. You've heard the old saying about computers, garbage in, garbage out. Well, you know what? Our minds are very similar to that. So you need to control what goes in, who you're hanging around, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what TV programs you're watching, all the different parts and pieces that you really do have control over. And the next part here is purpose. You've heard me speak of this before, but this is so much more. In order to really develop a strong mindset, you've got to understand what your purpose is. You see, we must look deep within ourselves to discover our own purpose. This will take an effort that will be rewarded with our own truth and identity. It is more than just our why. It is the reason we have been placed on this earth. Now, if you struggle with that, I'm going to encourage you to find a coach who can help you really discover your purpose, your calling, why you're here. And then ask the question, am I doing that? Am I living it? But this whole piece here, developing a strong mindset, I believe starts at the house. I believe it starts at the home. I believe it starts with your family that is raising you. And so leaders, those of us who have the opportunity to work with people, no matter what their age and stage, this is something we can help install into them. And by golly, I do believe that's part of a leader's job, just so you know. So developing a strong mindset is something that's not taught in our schools today. Another thing that kind of rankles me just a bit, and anyone who knows me very much from my church world to my personal world, is the thing that we don't teach how to handle money. I understand that the first lesson on how to handle money is called delayed gratification. And that normally starts with the people you hang around. It normally starts at home. You see, delayed gratification is, do I need it right now? It's an emergency. Someone bleeding. You know, is the hot water tank not working? Is the roof got a hole in it? Does my car not start so I can't go to work? You see, do I need it right now? Of course, answering the question, is this a want or a need? So many times I hear people say, gosh, I want this, I want that, I want something else. And usually you hear this from little people, but I'll tell you what I'm seeing is people my age doing the same thing. They spend their whole life saying, well, you know, I sure like to have that. I want that. I want. Well, you know what? Is it a want or a need? You see, a need is something I have to survive. A want is something I can either have or not. You see, the other question is, if I spend it now, will I regret it later? So when I work with people and I ask them as a want or a need, and I ask them the next question, if you spend it now, will you regret it later? Could you possibly put it off for 24 hours to see if it really is a want or a need? Now, if the answer is no, I can't put it off for 24 hours, then, that's a need. But if I can, you might not need it at that end of 24 hours. The next part about handling money, of course, is learning about compound interest. It's interest paid on the principal amount, which accumulates over a period of time that can geometrically add to your net worth. A long time ago, I had a partner who I worked with, and he was an older gentleman. I was a younger one, and he said to me, he says, Dick, he says, you've got to always pay yourself first, my friend. Put away 10% for that time when you're going to be not working down the road. You're going to be a little older. And when it grows to be a little bit nest egg, get yourself a financial advisor and keep it growing. It was good advice for him back then, but I tell you. The other thing is he said to me, take the next 10%. He said, put away for emergencies. Car broke down, a new child on the way, roof needs, repaired. Those emergencies that happen in life. But know how compounded interest works, because if you do, that'll grow also. Then he said, sit down, I'm going to tell you the next one. Oh, Clyde, he was good to me, and I'll tell you what, he knew that I was a young feller, and I had no clue. I'd come from a house that lived from Friday to Thursday, and he said to me, he said, now I'm going to teach you about the rule of 72. He said, in finance, son, the rule of 72, the rule of 70, and the rule of 69, these are three methods of estimating investments doubling in time. The rule number is divided by the interest percentage per period to obtain the approximate number of periods required for doubling. Okay? Which leaves you more money. Now, that was sure good advice, because that little bit of 10% that we were putting in for a long range, and then we, every 7 years, and we started that way back when we were in our late 20s. And now I'm in my mid 60s. Think about how much that really rocked and rolled. One of the things we're not teaching in school today is how to handle money. Another thing we don't teach in school is how to change your way of thinking. This is important. First of all, I have to tell you that one of the biggest things is you have to remove your stinking thinking. And the best way to do that is to put in positive affirmations. Now, I used to think that was kind of silly when I was younger, but I'll tell you, we've been practicing here at this house for a long time now, and it happens to be true. When you wake up in the morning and you have a positive thought process, and before you go to bed at night you have a positive thought process, it will change the way you think. Now, another thing that we are really encouraging is to listen to other people's thoughts. You see, everybody comes from a different place at a different time and subject through ages and stages. People they've hung around, people they grew up with. But as listening, we can then collect many different thoughts and make our own decision for ourselves instead of following the herd. Now, another way to change your thinking is remove the ifs and whens from your thinking. If I had done that, if I had done this, if I had this, and when this happens, I'm going to do, what? Those are real okay, but they take away from the actual can and do. You see, when you spend all your time over there, it's pretty negative. So moving on over to the positive affirmation piece. I can, I will. Become thankful for what you have right now. Not what someone else has, but be thankful for what you have right now. Celebrations are good. Every day that we get up and take a breath, I'll tell you what, that's a celebration in life. At the end of the day, my wife and I often sit down and celebrate, even with just a glass of sweet tea, to take and say, gosh, today was good. Celebrate even the things that don't happen in your weird way of thinking. Use them as a learning tool, but keep them positive. Become mindful of your moods and how to change them. Miss Robin's always mindful of my moods, and she knows that the biggest way to change me is to take me to the woods. I get out there amongst the trees, and boy, I'll tell you what, it just changes my mood. So today, where we live, I just go outside and walk outside for a while, and I'm back and I'm okay. So be mindful of your own moods and how to change them. You see, these are things that they don't teach in school. Now, another thing that I found they don't teach in school is how to be a leader. Now, I know that you all know that the Leadership Wrangler talks about leadership all the dang time, but I'll tell you what, it's true, because leaders, we all are. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, we are all leaders. The first thing about being a leader that we need to instruct or teach and share is how to communicate, and how to do it clearly concisely, and accurately. Those things really make a person listen to. That's what it's all about, is communicating. The next one is how to take a risk, how to be a risk taker, not just go out and jump off a roof without a parachute, but calculate a risk and to learn from that risk taking that failure is a learning tool, not the end. You see, waiting until everything is complete, I have to tell you, will ensure that someone else has already completed your mission. I had a good young man who had a great idea, and he started putting it in place, and I kept encouraging him to release it, get going, come on, let's go. And he didn't do that. He didn't do that, and I'll tell you what happened. Someone else thought of the same thing, put it into place, and went to work. Risk taking. Take the risk. Get started even if you're not 100% finished. The other thing about being a leader is making sure that you know what your vision, mission, and strategy are. You see, your vision is your future picture. Now, I have had one at an early age of my career and my home life. Now that I do both, I put them together and made that future picture one big piece. What was funny was when I added them together, I realized they were really both the same anyhow. Where I wanted to end up, how much money I wanted to have coming in, the things I wanted to do with my family. You see, it really didn't change from an early time in my life. Your mission, you need to make sure you know your purpose, your passion, your calling. And if you don't, seek someone out to help you find them so you can live them. And to strategy. That's your plan. You need to take and have a day-to-day plan of how you're going to do things. This will allow you to live your mission and achieve your vision. Again, if you struggle with those things, find a good coach. Give us a call here at Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training Development. Let us help you. But those are things they do not teach in school. The other thing about being a great leader is learning to be focused. Laser focused on solutions with an attitude of MARF. Now, MARF, M-A-R-F, stands for Maintain Absolute Rigid Flexibility. There's not a leader I know of who hasn't been so laser focused that there are times that things just happen. And you have to maintain that absolute rigid flexibility. It doesn't mean we're going to change the route we're going. It doesn't mean we're going to change the X on the map where we're going to end up. It means that we might have to take a different route. Not a big deal. Now, leaders also have great characters. You see, character is often explained as what we do or will do when no one is watching. It goes farther than that, though. Our character is our true self. Oftentimes it is shown under duress or under stress, but it is to be positively cultivated. You get it? Positively cultivated daily. This doesn't happen overnight. Well, their characters, well, no, but I'll tell you what, you can ruin your character overnight. It's that one bad decision, one bad choice. And then you'll have to work hard at regaining the trust and the trustworthiness, which I'm going to talk about next. Because trustworthiness goes right along with this thing, character. Because you can't have one without the other. Now, I learned about trustworthiness a long time ago. You see, trustworthy is the first of the 12 points of this Boy Scout law. It means that others have confidence and faith that you will always respond in a positive and correct way with whatever you are faced with in life. They can trust in you. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. These things all go together, all one stack upon the other to be a great leader. And these are the things we need to install and teach. The next part of about being a great leader is decisiveness. Making decisions and choices becomes readily to those who are prepared. I know, another Boy Scout thing, be prepared. But you know what? Those who have done their research, considered their options, can be prepared. Those who have never taken the time to even think about things, well, stuff happens. And develops. Leaders develop themselves, and they develop those around them. They bring knowledge out. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Shared knowledge is power. If you don't share what you know with someone around you, if you're not helping develop them as they're helping develop you, what are you doing on life? Things that are not taught in schools today. Now, another thing that just kind of rankles me just a little bit is that we don't teach in school how to think big. You see, this thing of thinking big was kind of driven out of me for many years in my school. Sit down, be quiet, and do what you're told. And I got to work, it was sit down, be quiet, do what you're told. And then when I've got to be the director of education, that changed very quickly in our world. It was stand up, do something, and learn. Think big. First thing about thinking big is schedule some time. You see, we all have the same number of minutes and hours in a day. Keep a log to discover when you are the most productive, imaginative, and when you seem to be procrastinating in your day. This log will help you reinvent your time schedules and fit in all that needs to be completed, as well as needed down in creative lines and creative times. You see, downtime and creative mind work together in many different cases. But if you're not taking the time, everybody says, well, I don't have time. What do you mean you don't have time? Ask yourself the question, am I busy or am I productive? Scheduling your time will help you be productive and not just busy. The other thing about thinking big is everything is possible. You see, many years ago, I wrote a book called The CBAs of Life. Conceive, believe, achieve. I still believe in that even today. You see, the CBAs of life that conceive the idea, believe you can and will bring it to life, achieve the intended outcome by the sometimes slow, persistent, intentional, daily, putting one foot ahead of the other opportunity. So many times I talk to people and they say to me, well, it's not happening fast enough. Well, what is fast enough? Think about that. You need to know where you are right now. Again, I'm going to encourage you to find someone to help you decipher that. Admit to yourself exactly where you are at this moment in time, and then start on your vision, your future picture, your mission, your purpose, your strategy, your plan for the future. You see, until you admit where you are right now, you really can't look forward to anything else. If you're just like that cork on the string on the top of the water, bobbing up and down, you're not going anywhere, you're always at the end of that string, think about it. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. You ready? Dream it. Write it down. Break it down into smaller pieces. Show it around. Tell everybody what you're doing. Make some sound. You're going to have to verbally and physically show and tell people what you're doing and what your end goal is looking like. There's a couple different reasons. One is that you just never know who might be sitting next to you can help you with that goal. Or, you know what? They might know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody could help you with that goal. But if you don't take and tell them, or you don't have it written down, they don't know. They just see you as someone going through life, floating on top of that water like that cork, stuck on that string, never going any farther than what the string's going to allow. So dream it, write it down, break it down, show it around, make some sound, and then jump up and down. You know what? You see, self-motivation is the key. And self-motivation is something that is just hard to put into people for some reason. In our schools today, what I see so many times is that already by the time they hit 4th and 5th grade, they have been broken. They've been broken to the thoughts process of doing anything different than what they've been told. They've been broken to the thought process of having any big dreams, because they've been told that this is what there's going to be, and this is their new reality. Leaders, let's do something about these things that are not taught in schools today. Why is it that we as leaders are not making sure that if we get a new employee that we don't share this with them? If we start a new business like we did, we have people working for us. First thing we talk about is their long-range piece. Where do they want to be in 5 years? Where do they want to be in 2 years? Do they want to still be at this location in 1 year? How much money do they think they want to make? Do they know how to handle money? How are they doing? Do they have big loans? Do they have big things hanging on them? Because I'll tell you what, when you hire people, guess what? If they have big loans and a lot of stuff hanging on them, they just can't really concentrate on what they're supposed to be doing to build your corporation. They're concentrating on chasing the dollar. And when people chase dollars, their minds are not on their world or yours. They're only on the dollar. So, leaders, you see why that's important. Long time ago, when I was the director of education, a training department, people would come in and say, "Oh, you want to be an instructor?" They'd say, "Yeah, I want to be an instructor." I said, "Well, what do you want to do next?" You see, being an instructor is probably the best thing you can ever be. It's a great opportunity, but it's more than a job. You have to be totally well invested. The difference is, I'd ask them, "What do you want to really do next?" There was a young man who came in and he said, "No, I want to take and be a lawyer." So I found a way to help him go to school and now he's a lawyer. And there was another one to be a banker, and there was one who wanted to be, there was all sorts of things. People came in as instructors who had other dreams. I was that strange employer who asked them what their other dreams were, and then I would go out of my way to help them do it. Why? Because it made them better employees, for one thing. And two, they were totally invested in our organization. Now that was huge. And as they moved up and moved out, I wished them well. But these are things that we're not teaching in our schools today. So, leaders, guess what? It's up to us to make sure it happens. Now, I see our time is running short like usual. So on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope is that you have received a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you build your leadership ability. Now, if you have any questions or comments on today's program, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. Go to our website, spend some time, look around, and there's a place there to click on it and send me a note, www.ewfw.org. And when you know for a fact that you would like to have me, Dick Powell, come and do a leadership seminar for your organization, all you've got to do is call. But I tell you, get it on the calendar quickly. We fill up quick every year. So give us a call, 727-422-1833. And this is Leadership Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.